Hello, humans. Welcome to my Life Me TV channel. I'm Joshua Quinto. For those that don't know, I just spent the last 12 months being a scientist and testing the effects of living an unstructured lifestyle, trying to see what it takes to get sick. Not like virus sick, but create unhealthy habits that might lead to requiring healthcare assistance on some level. Just a side note, I didn't actually get it to a point where in the last 12 months I actually needed a health professional or surgery or medication or medical intervention, but there might be some unseen level of damage that might show up in my blood test results when I get it back. I can certainly say towards the end of the 12 months, man, I was not feeling myself. I wasn't feeling very good, and I definitely was feeling the effect of burnout and fatigue. However, none of what I did or did not do actually compares to the damage I feel is caused to my body when I have anesthetic or go under for surgery. Another side note, for the past 16 years, I've had to have surgery like every 2 years for an undiagnosed chronic inflammation issue. Pretty much that means I've had more than 8 surgeries, and they were all on my nose, not for cosmetic reasons, but inside. I have nasal polyps that keep growing back, which none of my specialists have been able to give me a definitive reason why they keep growing. So what that means is I've had 8 surgeries and for a condition that I actually don't know how to stop. And if I did know how to stop it, I definitely would take steps to make sure I don't have that surgery. So parts of this 12 months of unstructured lifestyle was an attempt to problem solve my own health issues and also figure out why they occur and keep reoccurring. Ultimately, I wanted to get to a point where I could start a self-care journey and show people what it takes to be a happy, healthy human. I also wanted to answer some questions, and those questions were, are the lives we live normal, and is that normal hurting us? Can chronic low-grade inflammation be causing greater health concerns than what we are conscious of? Why don't more people take responsibility for their own health? And why are we so trusting about everything that we are being told and sold? Now, I don't recommend doing what I did. Not that what I did was super crazy or extreme. In fact, for the majority of the time, I emulated the behaviors of people and what they do every day in their lives, their normal lives, like staying up late and eating bad food and not exercising and not dealing with my thoughts and feelings. Some people might say, hey, that's what I do every day. But that's part of my hypothesis, that are the lives that we live in, or the lives that we live, normal, and is that normal habit hurting us? So over the next 12 months, I'll release parts of my unstructured journey and share some of the amazing things that I've learned about myself and my health, and how beliefs, behaviors, and habits and addictions could be causing some of the most destructive damage to a human's health. Now, it's been 12 months of living this unstructured life, and it's actually been a few months since I finished that scientific test, that experiment. And I still haven't fully kicked over into living a structured lifestyle again and fixing the issues I've created over the last 12 months. It's been a little while, and I don't know, I kind of feel like a broken down lawnmower where I go to start and then I splatter to a stop. I want to start, but then I quickly lose motivation and I just go back to my year-long belief, behaviors, and habits. So I actually didn't think it would take me this long to get started and to get focused again. I thought like making that conscious effort as soon as my 12 months was up, I'd be like, yep, all right, let's begin my self-care journey. But that transition hasn't worked so quickly. I just, I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on. Normally I would say like I'm a pretty motivated person. Like if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to stick to it and do it. But lately I'm not finding that I have that willpower and motivation like I used to. So hopefully making this video is the start of my self-care journey. And yeah, this has been tough. Trying to unlearn these beliefs and behaviors I have now. So I've fallen into this unstructured world, and I can see why it's super easy to live here. Like, you don't have to take responsibility for anything. If you don't care about your health, then you truly don't have to worry about what you eat and what time you go to bed, and you don't have to worry about the things that you're being sold. You just take it for face value and you just get on with your life. I think I've really enjoyed some of the behaviors I've adopted. I like staying up late. Like, as someone that loves playing sport, like, I say like a lot apparently. As someone who likes playing sport, you can't stay up to 3 a.m. every night and expect to play well the next day. You just run out of energy, you run out of focus. So you have to go to bed early. They're the habits and behaviors and beliefs that you adopt as a young kid going through to playing, any level of sport, really. A competitive sport, anyway. I love doing whatever the hell I want with my health. I've really enjoyed testing the boundaries of living unhealthy and seeing what my body and personality can handle, and finding out how far I can push myself before I get really sick and tired and fatigued and burnt out, which towards the end, like, there was definitely some adrenal stuff going on. I know my constitution was breaking down. I have this pain window in clinic, and it's literally just an old window that's bricked up, and I use the edges of the window to describe where people sit with their own physical pain and how far they can move or push their body. And if they do too little, that could cause them to regress and go backwards and cause pain. In the same way that if they push too hard, they could jump out of the window, and that will cause pain. So the idea is to stay within the boundaries of the window, and this is the most ideal and most comfortable way to lead back to healthy, normal healing times. This window helps people visualize where they are with things. Over the last 12 months of living unstructured, I clearly hung out at this end of the window, doing as little as possible to help myself and my health, really causing a change in my homeostasis for my body and totally stressing it out. I decided to go this way of living unstructured instead of going the other way, which would be trying really hard to afflict health into my life by training and dieting and really like pushing way too hard with exercise or over training and pushing my body to physical extremes. I think there's enough data out there to know what this looks like. We see this in triathletes, runners, crossfitters, and any athlete that is really trying to find their body's optimal point versus their break point. So instead of choosing a super exercise pathway of finding health, I actually have gone the other way. And that unstructured life reflects more of what I see in society, what I see in my clinic, what I see around the world. So I emulated the lives of what I believe is the things that make people so sick, the stress, the inflammation, the fatigue, the injury and illness that eventually leads to chronic health issues like sickness and disease, preventable sickness and disease too. Things that could have easily been addressed years ago if someone had just helped them problem solve their main stresses. The same stresses in all of us that ultimately lead to autoimmune or chronic inflammatory issues. So a little recap of the things that I did do over the past 12 months in relation to the 10 categories of wellness. Basically, these categories are parts of a pie, and if those pie pieces are unfairly or not balanced, like we're going to see some parts of the pie that are really small and some are quite large. And these are the areas that you're either neglecting or spending not enough time on or too much time on. So like emotional, this one is a big part of what I believe is good healthcare, and it's a big chunk of the pie. It's the top of the pyramid. I think emotional wellness is huge, and over this year of living unstructured, I really let myself fall into areas where I did get really emotional and anxious, and like I would get palpitations, and I'd worry, and I really didn't check in with myself. It was just go, 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 go. I gave a lot of time and effort to my clients. I went above and beyond. I invested too much of myself into them. I would get too involved and try and problem solve their issues rather than dealing with my own. I really invested hard into studying what they needed more than what I needed. Nutritionally, I ate the worst foods. Like majority of the time I ate junk food and lollies and chocolates and soft drinks. I got really addicted to chocolates towards the end there. Physically, I did no activity at all. Like I stopped playing my sports. I didn't go to the gym. I didn't do any activity. I wasn't kicking the ball around with friends or anything like that. I stayed up ridiculously late, like to 2 or 3 a.m. most nights. So I just didn't sleep. And for somebody who used to take naps, like this was a big deal. Relationship with myself, I neglected. Like I stopped spending so much time with my family. I definitely stopped hanging out with my friends. I was short with them. I'm single, so I didn't go on any dates, and I didn't worry about finding a girlfriend. I physically, mentally, emotionally just cut that out for a while. Socially, like I said, I didn't hang out with my friends. I didn't go to parties. I minimized the amount of times that I said yes to leaving the house. Financially, man, I neglected my finances. I just didn't look at them. If I wanted something, I bought it. I just, instead of asking those really important questions like, do I need this versus do I want this? I just let temptation in. And this actually is one part that did give me a lot of anxiety and really stressed me out. And it's something I didn't enjoy at all, being unstructured with my finances. And what I realize now is that it's something that I actually need more help with. Like there's a lot of things that I don't understand, and hopefully somebody can help me with this in the future. Chemically, like I exposed myself to cleaning products, certain foods, perfumes, washes and soaps, dishwash detergents, like products that I wouldn't normally have in my house, brands and products that I wouldn't normally use. Like I bought what everybody else had. I didn't go out in the sun. I would stay in my room. I would be under lights like this, environmentally like stressing lights. I would be stimulated by computers, and I'd have laptops and TVs in my room. And these were some of the things that kept me awake. Like I didn't find it easy to sleep because I was always stimulated by something. Occupationally, man, I just worked myself to the bone. Like every waking moment, I worked. You know, if I wasn't working, I was reading and studying. I never stopped. Like if I had clients, if I didn't have clients, I was still working. And I basically didn't let myself turn off, which was really difficult to do. But also, like, it did cause me a lot of problems to do that too. And people recognized that I was creating issues because of that decision to do so. Spiritually, I did not do anything that aligned with who I am as a person. I gave up on sport. I didn't play guitar. I didn't like do anything creative, like make art. I had no work-life balance. I stayed away from my friends and family. I made no attempt to align with the type of person that I am. So these were the 10 areas of wellness or the behaviors that I messed up in from my life. These are the areas that I see other people like making poor decisions on, and I was trying to emulate those behaviors. Coming from a background in sport and having a mum that cooked us healthy meals every night, like it was super unusual to stay up so late and eat junk food and neglect my movement and my health and my behaviors and my beliefs were all getting smashed. Like for someone, for someone who is quite structured because of sport and having parents that put rules in, like I felt like I was somebody who didn't care, and it felt like I had gone from one extreme to another. Like maybe it wasn't that I cared; it could be that I cared too much, And it was there was no balance. There was no middle ground. There was times I felt so unbalanced. That I felt like I was giving more than what I actually had. I was pouring from an empty cup, especially towards the end of the 12 months where I hadn't checked in with myself. I was super addicted to chocolate. I didn't feel very well. I had all these bad behaviors and habits and addictions, and had become very aware that these new behaviors, habits, and addictions were my new normal. Like I was getting scared towards the end, and I thought physically I would get sicker way quicker. Or I would experience some type of physical manifestation that would tell me that I should stop. But what I realized is humans can handle a lot of punishment. Like we can stress our bodies for a long period of time and be able to recover and cope. But if you continue these for a long period of time, many years and like decades, I can see why your body really struggles to repair itself. I got really scared towards the end when my vitamin D, my iodine levels, my essential minerals were starting to get very, very low. But it's been a year and I survived. I am not the same person that I was when I started this journey. Funnily enough, I actually think that I'm better for it. I am no longer stressed like I once was. I've pushed myself and my behaviors so far one way out of my normal comfort zone that I can actually have an opinion about being there. And what I've come to realize is that there were things in my previous life that I was too emotionally invested in. There was things that I cared about that, man, when I look back now, I do not understand why I put so much emphasis or thought, or like I would worry about things. And these were things that would go over and over and over in my head. And it's so strange. Like no one else cared about them but me. And now that I look back, like I just don't care about those things anymore. So I definitely think that the experiment has helped me, but there's also definitely, there are behaviors and habits that I need to get rid of immediately. There are some things genuinely that I have introduced into my life or experienced over the last 12 months that will decrease my life on earth. Like if I continue to consume or being exposed to certain products and certain things, like I will die earlier or I will be very sick. And so, yeah, this has made it much easier for me to keep going along this self-care journey, this problem-solving journey. There is no magic pill. Like there's nothing to make your life instantly better. If you are sick and you live like the life I just described, like there are no products to keep up with you and like repair all the damage you'll do. There's no coffees, there's no diets, there's no pills, there's no shakes, there's nothing there to repair you and repair ourselves while we continue to hurt ourselves. So there is nothing to offset that. You will burn out. There is no amount of medication or special product that will prevent your body from eventually throwing in the metaphorical towel and saying, with the hands up, you're cooked, you're done, you've pushed yourself beyond the point of what I can, fix. You're going to need some healthcare now, and it's not going to be fun for you. It's even more apparent to me now that we need to take responsibility for our own lives. We need to focus on our own self-care and not be outsourcing our health to others. Like we need to be invested by paying attention, actually giving a damn about our health, specifically our health, rather than blaming others for our health. Like if you're somebody who gets up at, gets out of bed and you've only had 3 hours of sleep and your breakfast is Red Bull and coffee, and you rush around and stress over a job to pay for things that you can't afford, and you eat junk food that's not junk food, it's more like processed crap that is, fueling your body, then you are going to get so fatigued, you're going to get stressed, you're going to get tired, you're going to burn out, and you'll realize at some point that you need to take responsibility for this life you've chosen and the health effects that come from that. So it's not your government's fault. It's not your doctor's fault. It's not your medication's fault. It's not Red Bull's fault. It's not Macca's fault. It's not that fourth coffee that you just had's fault. It's not your workplace or your partner or your family's fault. It's your fault. That's the life you created. That's the life you voted for. That's the life you continually put your hand up and say, yep, I'll take another cup of stress that leads to inflammation, that drives my fatigue, and leads to injury and illness and disease. Upsize me for another serving of stress, pretty much. So that's what you voted for. It like shocks me to see you blame other people for not fixing you. But where's the blame for taking responsibility of yourself? Like you're not blaming yourself, you're blaming everybody else. And that just, I just can't believe it. Like life is hard. None of us start with all the cheat codes or the recipes to a successful, healthy, happy life. If we did, maybe we would be a lot more content. But there's plenty of people who are out there who are not happy, healthy humans, me included. And over this last 12 months of this journey, like this is helped me figure out, what do I want? Like, what do I need as a human? What does my life have for me? What am I in this world? What value do I bring? Do I even need to bring value to this world? And if I do I want to be on this planet for the full length of time that I possibly can for? And do I want to be healthy? Like, maybe I don't. I can certainly say wholeheartedly that I'd rather be healthier than what I have been over the last 12 months. That is for sure. I can't wait for that to change, and I'm going to take responsibility for that right now. There's things that I've missed doing over the last 12 months that I can't wait to get back to. And I'm young enough and I'm able enough to do those things. And I'm so stoked and grateful that I am. I have stresses like that could be postponed to later on in life to deal with, like trying to pay off this massive house. I seriously do not need that stress in my life right now. I would prefer that to be a future Josh problem, but instead it's a right now problem. And for me to problem solve that issue, I'm going to actually have to ask other people to help me. But I've consciously made that decision to put myself in this position where I have these stresses, and I need to take responsibility for that. What I understand now is that the service of problem solving your stresses is not a mainstream service. Like, there's not too many businesses or people out there trying to help you problem solve your own issues. Doctors don't have enough time for you. Your friends and family don't have enough time for you. They've got their own problems to solve. They're time poor. They're limited. And unless somebody's going to sell you something, like, no one's really making the time to hang out with you and problem solve. You won't find the solutions to your problems. Like, you won't find self-care techniques on TV or radio or newspaper or by health professionals. If you're a healthy, sound mind, able-bodied person, and you're able to consciously make informed and educated decisions, if you have some depth of emotional intelligence and are able to take steps to better your life and stay fit and healthy without the products and services that stress the rest of us out, you're winning. Like, it's not in the best interest of big companies to teach you how to look after yourself. They need to sell you products and services to perceivably make your life happier and healthier. But this is how they get us. This is how they make things feel normal for us. Like, it should be part of our normal lives, these products and services. If you personally started problem solving your own problems, doing what it takes to remove the beliefs and behaviors that have been paid to be there by big businesses and companies, if you decide to give up on those beliefs and behaviors and started realizing that some of them are stressing your body and making you really sick, that would cost businesses a lot of money. Here's a good example. I ask this in clinic all the time. I ask people, hey, what is the most important meal of the day? And without thinking, people instantly say, breakfast. And some people don't even believe the words that they say. They don't even eat breakfast, and yet they still say it, which tells me big businesses paid a lot of money for you to know that information. As I speak about breakfast, there's images and words popping into your mind about what breakfast is and at what time it's consumed. Who said breakfast had to be toast, cereal, bacon and eggs? Who said it had to be pancakes or shakes? Or, who said it had to be consumed before 6 and 10 o'clock in the morning? Companies paid a lot of money for you to learn those things and make sure that they're normal parts of your life. But if you break down the word breakfast, it just means break the fast. It doesn't have any particular style of meal. Why can't you eat dinner at breakfast for breaking the fast? And why does it have to be before 12 in the morning? Why can't it be in the afternoon? And so there's some of the constructs of the world that we know, like, and trust, and we live with that could be hurting us. Those stresses, those paid-for beliefs and behaviors are so ingrained in us and so part of our lives that it's actually difficult for us to see that as a stress. We see them as something that's helping us. Those stresses are actually normal to our lives. So we have businesses and companies that educate us about products and services that we need in our lives that will make us happy and somewhat healthy, long-living humans. And that's what we're sold in Western society. But there are services and products that basically support the service and products that hurt us. And so there are those secondary services like education and medication. They support your lifestyle choices of choosing things, products and services that hurt you in the first place. So what I'm saying is, you may eat things that make you really, really sick, and then you go see a doctor and they give you medication so you can continue to eat and consume things that make you really, really sick. I don't hear enough people saying, if I just stopped eating this, then I wouldn't need to take medication, pills and surgery because of the damage that this caused. That's addressing two things with one action, but it's completely logical. Like, if you remove this, you may not need this anymore. But that's mostly because people don't stand up and say stuff like, I think this is hurting me. This product is hurting me. And they just make the same mistakes over and over and over again. They realize something is hurting them, but they brush it off. They put a Band-Aid on it and they carry on with their lives because that's what everyone else does. Like your neighbor, Johnny, he has a big house. He has a nice car that he can't afford. He stays up late and he works really, really hard. He's barely home to be with his family. You never see him out with his friends. You might see Johnny drive through, get fast food and coffees in his nice car that he can't afford. But he does those things. So why don't you do those things? It's normal, right? There's so many of us that are living a life that causes us to be tired, stressed, and fatigued humans. It's a lifestyle that's making us sick. So last year I worked really, really, really hard, and financially this year I am no better off than I was the year before. So despite hard work and long nights, I personally don't have a flashy car, but I do have a big house that I can't afford. There's days where I look at it and I think, why did I make this choice to have such a big house and a big mortgage? Why did I subscribe to 30 years of hard work just to pay it off? I don't have a partner or a kid to put in this house. Where's my motivation for actually having it? Where's my drive to keep it up? I feel like I did it just because that's what everybody else was doing. I was just trying to keep up with the Joneses and the Jimmys and the Johnnies. I think I'd like to have more discussions around why we do the things that we do that ultimately make us sick. Why don't more people stop doing what they're doing that's making them sick and do something else? How come I don't hear more people saying, I'm going to stop voting for this way of life because it's hurting me? I'm going to start doing the opposite to what I'm doing and see if there's a better way. I'm going to stop voting for the products and services with my time or money because those things are hurting me. I've reached a level of consciousness now. I've certainly motivated myself towards starting my new journey, to finding out what it looks like to have a new lifestyle. What are the effects on my health and my well-being and my character if I change over to a self-care journey where I actually am consciously involved in my own health? When I was living unstructured, I did get scared that I was going to get very sick living like that, and I wanted to rehabilitate myself from the damage I caused. And so I started writing a program or a pathway of rehabilitation before my 12 months was up. I thought it was necessary to do that to help me address my beliefs, my behaviors, and habits and addictions. And that initial step was dealing with my level of consciousness and tapping into the things I had suppressed and taking the time to remember the things that I learned that could make me better without having to rely on products and services. I consciously didn't want to start with diet and exercise. I see everyone start there, like with diet and exercise, but I kind of akin that to starting a trip to Mount Everest and carrying heavy backpacks of emotional baggage and unconscious incompetence up this tremendously difficult mountain, this massive goal. I didn't want to make my body weight or my fitness level a level of or an indicator of my health. I see way too many people doing that who decide to get healthy and then they start this massive journey of going up Mount Everest with all this unresolved baggage and it's holding them back. And they choose the hardest task first that needs the most motivation and the most endurance and the most health to achieve. But that doesn't make any sense. Like, Mount Everest is the hardest thing on earth. When you're already fatigued, tired, and stressed and sick, like, that's a dumb choice. People who consider themselves really healthy and fit attempt to walk up Mount Everest and they die. Like, they don't make it back. And if they do, they're severely injured. They get burnt, they get frostbite, they lose limbs. Like, why the heck would you start there? Maybe people's emotional baggage is more painful than taking on Mount Everest. But I don't understand why you want to carry that around on your back. Both are painful, Mount Everest and emotional stress. But I would rather deal with my emotions and tap into things that are stressing me and causing me sickness and do things that cause me that actually give my body a chance to heal itself before taking on an arduous task like walking Mount Everest. It may be uncomfortable to talk about emotions. It may hurt to start with the emotional side first, but I'm not going to lose limbs and I'm not going to die. So I'd rather start there. I do think that I'd rather be more like a surfer and just chill and relax and just ride the waves nice and easy. Do straight lines of getting from point A to point B rather than point A to point B. But this type of movement, if you look at a surfer, they actually move more like that than they do this. And it's controlled up and downs. It's just a little bit of give and take. It's riding the wave to where you want to go rather than pushing it uphill. So, look at this. Here we go. Let's see if I can bring this up. Over there. Okay. So, he's like a Sherpa, I guess, carrying maybe 4 or 5 other people's stuff. Here's another one. Wow. Like, I would much prefer not to do that and be a surfer. Here's some footage of Mick Fanning riding at Kira. Clearly unbiased to walking up hills and mountains in the frost and cold with backpacks on. I'd much prefer to be surfing. But if we break it down a little bit, like if you look at a surfer, they're going in a straight line, but they push to go down and then they release to come back up. And this up and down movement is, I think that's a lot easier than just pushing directly uphill. You can see it in this wave here, like this sinus and cos waves, just gently going up and down, just like Mick, going down, coming back up, completely in control, in a straight line. That seems much more appealing to me than trying to walk up Mount Everest. Anyhow, I've learned a lot about myself over the last 12 months. In particular, I am a hypocrite. I'm a health professional hypocrite. I do not do what I tell others to do in clinic. So I've learned that about myself. That's something I'd like to change about myself. Other things I've learned, I've enjoyed being the scientist. I really love testing and not guessing. I want to go on a self-care journey and I want to keep myself accountable and I want to reach my goals. Some other things that I learned over the last 12 months, that accurately communicating how you feel is important to taking the right steps to change. And I don't mean just communicating with others, but I mean with yourself. Like, being very clear on what you need versus what you want. They're 2 different things. And if you can write that down and head towards what you actually need, you'll probably achieve a lot of your self-care goals. Other things that I learned, I think we all judge each other a little bit too much and should reserve some of that judgment for ourselves. That changing beliefs, behaviors, and habits and addiction is not easy at all, and it's going to take some time. There are things I just don't know or understand about myself that I'm excited to learn. Regarding self-care, more of us should stop voting for the things that hurt us or make us sick, whether they're products or services. If we stop voting for them, if we stop buying them, businesses will stop making that stuff that doesn't matter and start providing us with products and services that do, which goes a long way to healthcare and self-care, right? over the next 12 months, I'm going to share as much of my stories that I've learned from the last 12 months. I'm going to start documenting my self-care journey. And as I learn to become a happy, healthy human, I'll share what I've learned with you. I'm going to make mistakes over the next period of time of my life. I'm human. I'm going to stuff up. There'll be good days and bad days, but that's part of the learning process. Something I'm excited about doing is meeting new people, getting out of my room, interviewing people, and sharing their stories from humans all over the world who have made changes to their lives that are transitioning to a self-care model. It's taken me years to get to this level of consciousness and understanding that I have right now. There are levels of consciousness that I still don't even know exist, and I'm looking forward to experiencing and finding those. But ultimately, if we are all on a journey and we're at different levels and different stages in those journeys, then I hope to learn from you as you learn from me. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on LifeMe TV. See you in the next videos, humans.